After 2 decades of marriage, my wife, a 39-year-old mother, to our 2 daughters, and the love of my life surprised me by announcing she was going on a date with a co-worker. Tomorrow night, Helen and I tied the knot as teenagers, and within a year of dating, she became pregnant with our first daughter. Despite our young start, we were deeply in love, married soon after and welcomed Christ into the world 7 months later. Our marriage has been wonderful, filled with love and blessed with 2 beautiful children who adore both of us. My landscaping business took off, growing into a multi-million dual venture, providing us with a fulfilling life beyond our dreams. Hearing such news from my wife caught me completely off guard as she explained her unhappiness and depression. Since the kids left for college, it hit me like a ton of bricks in my eyes. Our marriage was perfect. So, this revelation shook me to the core. Helen confided in me about her close friendship with Tommy from accounting, who had been supporting her through her struggles. A fact previously unknown to me. It was strange because she hadn't mentioned feeling depressed or upset at all. The idea of my wife seeking emotional support from another man was painful, but learning she wanted to be mentally involved with him was devastating. It turned out Tommy Boy was married with 3 daughters and presented himself as a counselor, when in reality, he was a hunter lurking for unsuspecting victims. Thomas preyed on attractive, married women, knowing they were vulnerable and sought no strings attached. Encounters John, I can't hide this from you, and I hope you understand, but I need to do this for myself. I know it sounds selfish, but give me this one night to see how it goes. I was furious and wanted to shout, but I knew my wife well enough to anticipate this. Once she made up her mind, there was no turning back when she finished her revelation. I sat there silently staring at her as she nervously, occupied the love seat across from me. The silence was heavy as I resisted the urge to speak instead. I calmly finished my scotch, stood up and headed for the door. John, don't ignore me. Stop acting like a child. This is happening, and I needed to tell you. Before anything occurred, I would never cheat on you, and I want you to know everything that happens. We've always been honest with each other and I'll never deceive you, darling. I stood there, gazing at her, likely with an expression of utter disbelief, as she curled into a ball, knees to her chest without a word. I ascended to our bedroom, packed 2 days' worth of clothes and toiletries. Then again, without speaking, strode past Helen and out to my car. In the garage, she trailed behind, crying out as I passed her, "Please, John, don't leave. Everything will be okay. It's just one date, that's all, and it'll be over soon. Just one night. Can't you give me that after 20 years? I shook my head as I drove off, incredulous at her. Please. That Thursday evening, I checked into the Ritz-Carlton. Yes, the Ritz-Carlton for $100 a night, and I didn't care if I was going to suffer. I'd at least enjoy my accommodations. The calls and texts flooded in immediately, but after sending one final text, I blocked her number. I simply informed her I wouldn't be in touch until returning home on Saturday post. Her betrayal. I'm certain those words stung the following day at work. I instructed my secretary to block any calls from my wife and informed security not to allow her into the building. My plan was in motion, and I wouldn't let anything derail it. I'm John Casey, and a man of action at work, and among my friends, I'm the man in charge, the one who gets things done. People rely on me for leadership because they know I deliver on my promises at home. Adopted a passive, easygoing demeanor, aiming to please and distance myself from my macho alter ego. It's been effective for the past 2 decades, but it appears I underestimated it. Looking back, I realized I should have been more assertive and composed in my domestic life, but my love for my wife led me to treat her like royalty. I recall coming across a quote once and laughing at it, but I'm not laughing now. Treat her like a queen, and she will treat you like a servant. Those words have become my reality, but I refused to accept it on Friday morning. I reached out to my brother, a detective in Miami, seeking assistance after explaining my needs. He connected me with one of his associates, Peter Clift, a private investigator. Peter, it's Sergeant Davis. How have you been, buddy? Listen, my brother's on the line, and he needs your help. Tonight, I'm cashing in a favor and need you to assign someone to tail his wife tonight. Specifically, we need to find out who she's meeting and gather as much intel on this guy. By Saturday morning, I want you to run his license plates, get his home address and phone number and text it to me tonight. We'd also like some photos of the couple. You know, the drill. The photos can wait until tomorrow tonight. We're just after the guy. Info, Davis. I know this is last minute, but I owe you big time. So, I'll make it happen. You want the guy address and phone number tonight, ASAP, and the rest of the photos and intel tomorrow. What are we working with here? That'll do for now. I'll send over their wife's address, her departure time, and her date's first name. I've been told he works with her at Brokers Unlimited and his name's Tommy, so it shouldn't be too hard for you, buddy. She's back home by 5 p.m. but we're unsure of the date, start time, So, you'll need a man posted outside the house before 5 p.m. to tail her when he picks her up. That's all we need. Send me their wife's address and I'll handle the rest. My friend. John listened intently to the conversation, grinning as his brother hung up. His plan was falling into place, poised to surprise his unsuspecting cheating wife. John's strategy demanded swift action. Recognizing the urgency during the couple's illicit dinner, visit Tommy Boy's wife, explaining the situation and their spouse's whereabouts. His next call went to his longtime friend, Joe, requesting the number to the escort service he patronized. Joe, scarred by a bitter divorce, opted for escorts over marriage, a choice John now understood: no infidelity, just companionship, likely more cost-effective than dealing with a cheating spouse. The call went smoothly, securing an overnight rendezvous with a young attractive blonde. He offered an additional $11,000 tip due to the unusual circumstances. John explained his desire for the girlfriend experience, portraying himself as going through a breakup. This premium service entails being treated like a devoted girlfriend from the outset, caring, alluring, and fulfilling. He assured there would be no issues, but urged the girl to understand the situation in case his wife appeared. The girl was to maintain discretion, presenting herself as someone he recently met, rather than a paid escort, anticipating his wife's arrival and their perceived intimacy. If she sought a date elsewhere, he was prepared to offer her the same treatment with some extra panache. They arranged to meet at his hotel for a drink and conversation before proceeding with the plan. As a real estate agent, Helen hosted open houses every Saturday, typically returning home after 6 p.m. This Saturday would be no exception, given its usual business. Reflecting on Thursday evening, when Helen asserted her independence, she sat on the couch after he departed, venting her frustration to an empty room. "I can't believe he acted so immaturely," she muttered angrily. His silent departure left her feeling irritated. Helen attempted to reach John by phone and text, growing increasingly aggravated when he didn't respond until receiving one particular text message. The mention of betrayal made her recoil and reconsider her intentions. Initially, viewing the date as harmless fun, rather than infidelity, she pushed aside thoughts of betrayal. "It's just one night of enjoyment. John will have to move past it, and we return to normal," she reasoned with herself, convinced he was overreacting. She anticipated his forgiveness and planned to make it up to him. The following night, she was confident he wouldn't refuse her advances, and she knew precisely how to smooth things over. Arriving home Friday night to an empty house, she mulled over her plans once more. Should she proceed with the date with Tommy or cancel and ask John to return? She anticipated an enjoyable evening ahead and was resolved to follow through with her plans. After taking a warm bath, shaving her legs and applying her best scented lotion, she sat at the makeup table, transforming her lovely face into that of a seductive woman, smiling at the alluring image in the mirror. She finished styling her long hair. She then removed the tags from the short, enticing dress, and hung it on the mirror. Slipping on the stockings she had never worn for John, she attached them to the new garter belt purchased at Nordstrom earlier that day. As she fastened the stockings and ran her fingers over them, memories flooded back of the times John had expressed his desire for her to dress provocatively. A pain of guilt struck her when she recalled Valentine's Day, remembered John's disappointment when she rejected the Zushi lingerie set he had brought home from Victoria's Secret, questioning if he considered her for suggesting such attire. She remained motionless for over a minute, contemplating how she now owned her own pair of provocative stockings and gars, which she was about to wear for another man. This realization gave her pause, and for the first time, she contemplated cancelling her plans and calling off the date. She still replayed John's accusations of betrayal in her mind. It didn't take her long to overcome her guilt about giving something to her date that she never gave to John. Slipping into the silky dress, she zipped it up, deciding against wearing a bra, which she was pleased with. The result was stunning. Standing before the full-length mirror, she admired her long legs in black nylon and high heels. Her ample breasts sat beneath the dress, with her perky nipples visible through the thin fabric. "Oh, my, I look like a little, but it's so much fun. I can't wait to see Tommy's reaction when he sees me, though. I'll need to clarify that there's no sex tonight, just dinner and dancing." She tried to reassure herself that it was merely a date and nothing more, but deep down, she knew she had to suppress her desires. The anticipation of going out with Tommy had consumed her thoughts for the past month, and it was finally happening tonight. Despite her husband's immature behavior, she was determined to enjoy herself. Helen was confident that John would understand and allow her to have her fun, as he always let her have her way. She appreciated him for that. Just then she received the final phone call from John. John made the difficult decision to offer Helen one final opportunity to halt the impending end in disaster and salvage their marriage. Swallowing his pride, he recognized the depth of his love for Helen and was willing to reconcile. if she intervened, prepared to sacrifice his dignity. He intended to humble himself and implore her to reconsider, urging her not to proceed with the date. Anxious and remorseful, Helen felt a wave of nerves as she noticed John Cole. Despite acknowledging her allure in the mirror, she grappled with less than admirable thoughts. But she knew it was essential to hear from John, hoping to make him comprehend and accept her decision. John, thank you for reaching out. I miss you dearly, and my love for you remains strong. When will you be returning home, sweetheart? Hello, Helen. I love you too, which is why I felt compelled to call. I ache for missing you, and your intentions have left my heart shattered. I implore you not to proceed with this date. Please stay home, and I'll come over to fulfill your every desire. I promise to bring you joy and be the partner you need. If there's anything lacking on my part, I'm committed to making things right. All I want is to be by your side. Can you please cancel this date for the sake of our marriage? Helen heard the strain in his voice and sympathized with John. It sounded vulnerable and pitiful. Her usually strong partner was now in tears, pleading with her to reconsider, granting her an unexpected sense of authority. She was aware of his love for her, and believed John would forgive her once he grasped her perspective. Their shared history, their children, and his affection were too profound, assuring her they would remain united forever. Oh, John, my love for you is boundless, and I look forward to spending eternity with you. However, I need to go through with this tonight, unrelated to our love. It's merely an evening for me to indulge in something foolish. Please understand, and grant me this one time, and I vow to be yours eternally. I understand your pain, and I apologize for causing it, but you're making more of this than necessary. It's simply dinner and drinks with a friend. Nothing more will occur, and I'll be home tonight, committed to you forever. I trust you'll comprehend once it's all resolved. Tomorrow, we'll discuss this further and you can reclaim me as your wife. I love you, John. But I must go, she said, tearfully. She felt the urge to end the call, but heard her husband's pleading as she hung up. Careful not to smudge her makeup, she wiped her eyes and gazed at herself in the mirror. Speaking to her reflection, she murmured, I'm sure he thinks I'm being unreasonable. But John, I'm sorry. I have to prioritize my needs. Please don't be angry. She tidied her hair, touched up her lipstick, spritzed on perfume, and attempted to push thoughts of John from her mind in his hotel room. John listened to the call ending and stared blankly at his phone, wiping his eyes. He felt anger welling up again. Despite his heartfelt pleas, his wife, Entel, affirmed the date was happening and expected him to be understanding tomorrow. A sense of sorrow engulfed him as he realized he had lost her, the only woman he had loved for the past 2 decades. The private investigator parked in his white van across the street from their home, just before 5 p.m., observing Helen's arrival in the garage. An hour later, he witnessed a car pulling into the driveway, recording the license plate. He made necessary calls, and within 10 minutes, he said, Davis and John, the requested information. Both received the home phone number and address. Even before the couple departed for their date, entered the house, he noticed the sadness in Helen's eyes, recognizing her moment of insecurity and guilt. He had seen this pattern before. The sudden realization crashed over Helen, like a wave, the weight of her actions, outside of her marriage, pressing down on her. In a moment of clarity, she began to reconsider her plans. Helen, what's troubling? You seem so down, Tommy asked, detecting her sudden change in demeanor. Tommy, perhaps we should rethink this. I've been reflecting on Junk's request for me not to go out with you. I feel guilty, like I've already let him down, she admitted, a solitary tear tracing her cheek. Quick to respond, Tommy moved to the couch to console her with his expertise in assuaging worries and manipulating situations. He viewed this as an opportunity, skilled in navigating the intricacies of women's emotions. He employed his charm and persuasive abilities to influence their decisions for Tommy. Helen's hesitation presented a challenge to conquer rather than a boundary to respect. It's all right, Helen. We don't have to go through with this, and I completely understand, he reassured, his tone steady and comforting. You've never felt comfortable going out alone, even for a simple dinner or movie. He just doesn't realize we're merely friends. Men like him want to shield their wives from potential threats, but if he knew how much I value our friendship, I'm sure he wouldn't object expressing his disappointment, yet showing understanding. Tommy continued, I'll admit, I'm disappointed. We won't be spending the evening together, but I get it. I was truly looking forward to your company and trying out that new restaurant. Capitalizing on the moment, he suggested an alternative. Hey, here's an idea. Why don't we have a nice dinner, and then I'll take you home? Surely he wouldn't mind you having dinner with a friend. His relaxed demeanor and the offer of a harmless, straightforward dinner were sufficient to sway Helen's resolve. already dressed for the occasion, and deep down, desiring companionship and new experiences. Tommy's manipulative tactics effectively reassured her, convincing Helen that dinner was innocuous, despite her initial doubts and the emotional turmoil regarding her husband. John. At 7:00 p.m., Peter observed the couple departing and heading to a downtown restaurant, promptly informing Davis and John of their whereabouts throughout the evening. He kept them updated. Capturing photos was effortless for Peter, who spent the next 4 hours snapping pictures of them at dinner, holding hands, entering the dance club, dancing together, kissing and portraying themselves as a loving couple. He also recorded several videos of them slow dancing, while Tommy touched her rear, fondled her breast and kissed her on the dance floor. Peter forwarded all the visuals before sunrise the following morning at exactly 8:00 p.m. John owned Helen's father, Brian, a longtime friend and golfing buddy, to deliver the unfortunate news. "Hello, Brian. It's John." "Hi, John. Are we still golfing on Sunday?" "I'm not sure, Brian, but I have some troubling news. Currently, your daughter is on a date with a co-worker." Belief that everything was fine in our relationship. She expressed the need for more and decided to see this man. "I love you and Maggie, but I refuse to tolerate this, and I consider our marriage over. She violated our marital agreement, and I cannot forgive her betrayal. I just want you to be aware of the circumstances leading up to what will follow. I'm sorry, it had to come to this." "John, are you telling me she's seeing someone else? Are you sure? That doesn't sound like my daughter." "Brian, I have a private investigator currently observing them at dinner. She's with the man as we speak, betraying me, our marriage and our children. I'm sorry, this is painful for me, but I respect you and felt you should know the truth." "John, I'm so sorry. Please don't do anything rash. I know she loves you, and perhaps you both can resolve this." "I'm sorry, Brian. I've made up my mind. I'll call you soon. Let's reschedule for next Sunday. It looks like this weekend is going to be rough." Armed with the cheater's address obtained from the investigator, John drove the 20 minutes to Tommy's residence to meet with Stella, his wife. She appeared puzzled when John inquired if she was Mrs. Brooks, Tommy's wife. The woman, a mother of 3 in her 30s, answered the door, clad in tight jeans and a lace top that accentuated her ample bosom. Despite the suggestive attire, John averted his gaze, focusing on her eyes to avoid any awkwardness. "Are you Mrs. Brooks, Tommy's wife?" he asked. "Yes." "Is he?" "Okay," she responded. "Oh, hewn in excellent hands. Trust me, he works with my wife. May I come in for a moment?" They settled in the living room as John delivered the news. "Mrs. Brooks, I regret to inform you that at this very moment, your devoted husband, Tommy, and my soon-to-be wife are out on a date. Yes, my dear wife confided in me just yesterday that she needed to spread her wings, and your kind husband has been so supportive that she felt compelled to repay his kindness." "Are you certain you have the right man?" "My Tommy is at his Friday night card game, Mrs. Brooks. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't certain. My private investigator is currently monitoring them. I'll have photos and videos to share with you, but I felt it was important for you to know." I left her in tears, feeling terrible, knowing that their affair probably shattered their marriages. But that's the game Tommy Boy chose to play the next morning. After his breakfast arrived, John sat back and poured a cup of the hotel's signature coffee, enjoying the aroma. He smiled, relaxing in the plush bed. However, his comfort swiftly turned to disgust and bitterness as he opened the photos from the investigator on his phone. The only silver lining was that she returned home by 1:00 a.m. and there was no sexual encounter that night. John's anger surged as he witnessed his wife's betrayal, tears welling in his eyes. Viewing the video of them kissing with her lovers, hand on her buttocks, shattered any hope for reconciliation. He also noted her wearing stockings for her paramour. Reaction when he had gifted her the same item months ago. Her betrayal and disrespect were unbearable. Overwhelmed by humiliation and a sense of inadequacy, his initial sorrow morphed back into fury. Tommy successfully persuaded Hel to extend their date beyond dinner, accompanying him to his preferred dance club. This decision proved to be her downfall in the marriage, and deep down, she recognized its wrongness before agreeing, but desired this experience as a one-time occurrence. John, with tears in his eyes, experienced a sadness unprecedented in his life. He had wept when his mother passed away and shed tears for departed friends. Yet, this was a uniquely gripping pain. Watching the video for the 3rd time, he paused at the moment when Tommy touching his wife. He cried out, in frustration, vowing retribution. Considering everything, he concluded, she may not have engaged in intercourse with him, but her actions were unacceptable, disrespectful, hurtful, and a complete betrayal of our marriage. On Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., he rendered with Candy at the hotel, spending the next 2 hours acquainting themselves. John clearly outlined his intentions, and Candy proved to be the ideal candidate for his PL. They returned to his home a little after 4:00 p.m. and were in bed by 5 p.m. Before climbing into bed, John placed the letter he had written for Helen, which stated, "Helen, last night, you shattered our marriage agreement and vows. Not to mention my heart, you violated that agreement. I stopped viewing us as married. Yes, legally, we're still bound, but the agreement is void, and we're both free to live as we wish. I intend to occupy the master bedroom. Since this is my house, you're free to use any other rooms, but my bed is off limits to you. Your belongings are in the guest rooms. I ask that you respect my personal space. You've achieved what you sought, your independence. And now, I have mine. I hope you're satisfied with your choice and your new life. Love, your former husband, John." He removed his wedding band and laid it atop the letter on the front door, holding it at eye level. He took one of his collector's knives and drove the blade through the center of the ring, piercing the letter, and embedding it deep in the wooden door. This was to be the first thing Helen saw upon her return home that night at precisely 10 p.m. When Helen arrived back from her job, the sight of the knife embedded in the door alarmed her. Naturally, such a sight would unsettle anyone. She moved towards the door, cautiously, scanning for any additional anomalies. Drawing nearer, she spotted the note meant for her, pinned under John's wedding band. Her pulse quickened, and tears began streaming down her face as she absorbed the contents of the letter with the ring and letter in her hand. She ran into their house, looking for John to tell him she didn't want him to leave her. She called out his name in the dark house as she stood in the hallway, sobbing. The house was quiet except for some sounds coming from the bedroom. She walked up the stairs and listened at the door to the sounds of lovemaking and opened the door in anger to find a young woman riding her husband, cowboy style. She stood in front of the bed in shock, watching this young girl riding her husband in their marital bed. Helen was angry beyond words and screamed at her husband. "How could you?" she screamed as she ran out of the house into her car, overwhelmed with emotion and tears flowing down her face. Helen sought refuge at her sister Mary's house. Once she regained composure and the tears receded, she recounted the painful discovery of her husband's infidelity in their bed, expressing uncertainty about where to turn. Mary attempted to offer comfort and reassurance, expressing disbelief at the situation. "This doesn't sound like John. I can't fathom him cheating on you. He's always been so loving and respectful toward you. I've even envied the affection he's shown you. This is completely out of character. Has anything happened recently that might explain this?" In a tearful, subdued tone, Helen confessed. "I don't know. Maybe it's because I went out with someone from work last night. That's the only thing I can think of." "Went out with whom?" Mary inquired. "Just a co-worker. It was merely dinner and dancing. Nothing more," Helen clarified, seeking further clarification. Mary incredulously asked, "So you went out with another man, leaving John alone at home, and believe it was just an innocent night out?" "Yes, but it sounds worse when you phrase it like that," Helen admitted, shocked and angered. Mary criticized Helen's actions. Now, understand why John was with another woman, and expressing no sympathy for Helen's plight. As Helen sobbed harder, she showed Mary the note she found attached to their door. Mary solemnly acknowledged Helen's mistake, suggesting it might have jeopardized her marriage due to a rash decision. She offered Helen a place to stay for the night, but urged her to attempt reconciliation with John the next day, though she doubted it would alter the situation. Mary warned Helen to prepare for the worst, noting that her own husband would have reacted similarly to such indiscretion. IGN, acknowledging that John had been even more devoted than her own spouse. Helen spent the night alone in Mary's guest room, shedding tears, well into the late morning and getting very little sleep. Mary texted John, requesting an immediate call back. Aware of Mary's purpose, John promptly returned her call. "Hi, Mary, what's going on?" he greeted. "Hello, John. My foolish sister is here and disclosed what she did and the events at your house last night. I don't blame you one bit, and I must say your retaliation was swift," Mary remarked with a brief chuckle. John replied, "Yep, you know me, Mary. I don't tolerate nonsense." "I understand, John. Look, I know she made a mistake, but she's a wreck, and I can't deal with her like this. You two need to hash this out tomorrow. I don't know if you're actually kicking her out, and I wouldn't blame you. But, if she hasn't gone all the way with this guy, maybe there's a chance to salvage things. Perhaps counseling could help, or maybe we should consider shock therapy for her defective brain. Anyway, please allow her to come back and talk tomorrow," Mary urged. "Of course, she's welcome back, Mary. This is still her home, and I haven't thrown her out. However, she won't be with me while she's here. I'm not angry anymore. I'm deeply hurt by her betrayal. I'll hear her out, but I can't make any promises about the future right now. I feel as much hatred toward her as I do love. The pain is overwhelming my emotions at the moment. It would take a miracle for me to consider taking her back, but you already know that you're the sensible one in the family. I can't believe my sister thought you'd be okay with her seeing some other guy. What a fool. Just be patient, and remember, she loves you. Hopefully she hasn't gone too far with that idiot." John expressed thanks. John sent her home whenever she wants. Mary concluded. Thanks, Mary. You're the best. You know it, and I know it. Love. John responded. Goodbye. John Mary bid farewell Sunday at noon. I returned from the gym to find Helen Carr in the driveway and she was seated at the kitchen table. Attempting a smile, she said, "You know, we're not getting a divorce. We can work this out, because we love each other." I remained silent, brewed a cup of coffee and positioned myself across from Helen, who was nervously twiddling her fingers on her lap after taking a few sips. I looked up at her and broke the quiet to me. It makes no difference, Helen, divorce or not. It's all the same when you breached our vows. Our marriage was essentially finished. I don't view us as a pair anymore, and you're free to pursue anyone you like, as am I. The only change will be your absence from my bed, and the cessation of our physical relationship. That concluded the evening. You went out with the man you assert isn't your boyfriend, John, H.E.K., not my boyfriend, and nothing occurred. Helen insisted. Helen, you went on a date with a man who isn't your spouse. You wore seductive attire, dined out, showed affection, publicly, and spent time that should have been hours with him. You might think your actions were minor, but to me, they were the last straw. They ended our marriage. So you have what you want. We need not divorce, if you prefer that. No, I don't want a divorce. Just give it time, and I'll return to your badao. Have you finished with the woman you were seeing? She retorted sharply. I find that amusing. I laughed and replied, "You're the one who ruined our marriage, not me. You effectively terminated our bond the moment you accepted date and left in his car, forsaking our union. I have no intention of ending things with Candy. She's youthful, appealing and thrilling. She's an amazing lover. Frankly, it was the finest sexual experience I've ever had. We discovered pleasures you never explored, and I realized what I've been missing. There's no reason for me to stop. You probably don't know, but while you were out with your so-called not boyfriend, I visited his wife. Stella did. You know they have 3 children, likely not considering your actions with your lover. Stella revealed a lot about Mr. Nuke. It turns out you're the 3rd woman. She's found him within a year. And Jessica Wilson from your job. She was the most recent married woman he tangled with, resulting in her divorce. Your Tommy is notorious, but Stella's had her fill. She's acknowledged that a cheater always stays a cheater. It appears your fling with Tommy has led to the deterioration of 2 families, impacting 5 children. This revelation struck her profoundly, and it was evident she began to perceive the man she jeopardized her marriage for in a new disparaging light. She seethed with anger at her own foolishness, feeling horrified upon learning that Tommy had caused the breakup of other families. Consumed by rage, she lashed out at her husband. John, he's not my boyfriend, and you need to stop saying that. I can't believe you went to her house and accused him of cheating. It was just dinner, for God's sake. You're being cruel and hurtful. And what about you? Being with another woman in our home is unforgivable. That needs to end. It was just dinner. Did you forget about the dirty dancing, kissing and touching at the club? I promised Stella copies of all the photos and videos to use. When Tommy tries to downplay it like you're doing now, you may not see it as cheating, but to everyone else, it's betrayal. When will you understand that? So, you think I'm cruel and hurtful? Let me ask you, how do you justify your actions? Loving and caring? No, I won't give up Candy. If you can't accept that, you don't have to stay. No, John, I want you to end it with her and be with me. I won't see anyone else. I promise you. Promise. Oh, you promise? How amusing. You promised to be my wife, forsaking all others, and that promise went out the window, didn't it? So Helen, as I see it, if you're unhappy with the situation, you're free to leave or file for divorce. Maybe you can move in with your lover, since you'll need a new place to live too. Frankly, you two deserve each other. Or you could stay here or perhaps go live with your sister Mary. I'm sure she'd welcome you with open arms. You'd be quite the role model for her daughters. John, are you going to stop seeing that woman? Don't you love me? Don't you want us to reconcile and be together? Helen, it's far too late for that. The moment you expressed a desire to be with another man, you shattered me. Do I still love you? My heart is full of love, but lacking in trust. I'm uncertain if I can ever trust and love someone who discarded me so easily. A real man wouldn't allow his wife to be with another man. But that's precisely what you've done. You made it clear you wanted to be with someone outside our marriage, regardless of my feelings. Now that you've opened our marriage, you'll have to accept my desires too. And at this moment, I desire to be with Candy, a young woman who brings me pleasure beyond my wildest dreams. I suppose seeing me happy with another woman doesn't sit well with you, does it? Well, now you understand some of my pain, and you'll have to face the consequences. Revenge is bitter, but that's how it goes. Additionally, regarding divorce, that's your decision. We can remain living together as roommates and see how things unfold. Or if you prefer, I can prepare divorce papers within a week. It's up to you, darling. Makes no difference to me, I asserted firmly. She understood the seriousness of my stance and didn't dare challenge me. At that moment, throughout the following month, I brought Candy home and into my bed. Every weekend, we engaged in passionate love-making multiple times a day, and it was exhilarating. Her smooth was sheer bliss, and she made me feel alive. Again, helping to rebuild the confidence shattered by Helen's betrayal. Helen despised the weekends and pleaded with me to end my affair with Candy, but I persisted in enjoying myself. As soon as Candy and I returned home on Saturday night, Helen would leave and only return once Candy had departed. I struck a deal with Helen to notify her via text after Candy left. I must admit, I derived some pleasure from the sex, as well as from witnessing Helen's agony, although guilt began to seep back into my conscience the following week. After recognizing that my relationship with Candy was purely physical, albeit incredibly satisfying, I realized there was a lack of genuine intimacy, and the financial cost was becoming excessive upon Helen's return. On Sunday night, I announced that I would cease seeing Candy for the time being and expressed my intention to seek out another woman. Helen implored me to take her back and cease seeing other women. She admitted her mistake, and professed her desire to have only me in her life. "John, you've punished me enough every week. I've had to witness this woman enter our home and be with the man I love. The pain is unbearable, and I can't bear to see you with another woman. Please give me another chance. I know I can't compete with someone like her, but I can offer you love and things nobody else can." Her words caught me off guard. Love? Do you even understand what love is, Helen? Love isn't abandoning your spouse to declare your intention to date other men. No, I don't believe you truly grasp the concept of love, and thus, you can't give something you don't possess. However, here's what I'll do. I won't pursue anyone else until we undergo couples counseling. If we can find a residential solution, then perhaps we can have a future together. She leaped off the couch and embraced me, showering me with kisses all over my face before finally reaching my lips. "Oh, thank you, baby. I promise I'll make it up to you." "Not so fast. I'm not forgiving you for what you've done. I'm simply giving us one last opportunity before I end our relationship due to your infidelity." "John, don't say things like that. You love me, and I believe we'll always be together. Can I sleep with you tonight, please?" she pleaded, planting a kiss on my lips. "Not yet. I still can't shake the images of you with that guy from my mind. The thought of you kissing another man, and letting him touch parts of you that belong to me, still torments me every minute of the day. I'm beyond furious at how carelessly you hurt me and tossed our marriage aside. You're incredibly lucky our kids are unaware of this, or I shudder to think what they'd think of their promiscuous mother. You can see, I'm still seething over what you've done. Let's take it slow and see how things progress with counseling. I've scheduled an appointment with Dr. Madison for this Tuesday, and will embark on the rather unpleasant journey of reliving the event, the pain, and the agony, twice a week, for the next 3 months. It's the same old therapy routine you've heard in countless stories, and just as excruciating. I had to revisit the affair and endure hours of psychobabble. Life would have been so much simpler, if only you had remained faithful to your vows, but I suppose that was asking too much. After 3 months of counseling twice a week, we managed to resolve our issues. Helen recognized the hurt she inflicted and understood my reaction. She argued that my retaliatory affair was far worse, but I clarified that by going on a date with someone else, she violated our agreement, thereby setting me free. Eventually, she got it, though remained upset. The therapist criticized my vengeance sharply, yet it didn't bother me. I'd repeat my actions without hesitation. We reconciled, under a postnuptial deal, stipulating she forfeits all if she strays. Again, she consented to having her phone tracked, her emails and texts monitored, and to complete transparency without deceit. I made it clear, our household would not tolerate any form of cheating, emotional or physical, and I'd expel her for it. She vowed never to even let another man flirt with her, promising eternal loyalty, though. I listened. Stellar's adage, once a cheater, always a cheater, echoed in my mind. A year on, things seemed as they were pre-air, yet now I watched her more closely, aware it might recur with her sister Mary's help. We ensured Helen stayed on track. Tommy's divorce cost him dearly. His ex-wife won the house, child support for their 3 kids and spousal support. After evicting him, Tommy now resided in a modest studio apartment, financially strained due to the consequences of his infidelity. Ironically, he lost everything over mere dinner outings, dances, flirtations, and kisses. What a fool! Helen felt deeply embarrassed upon discovering Tommy's history of affairs and his role in Jennifer's divorce. Upon realizing the extent of her own foolishness, after learning about Tommy's infidelities with multiple women, she understood how close she had come to destroying her family's love. Determined never to repeat her mistake, she committed herself to proving her love for John and their children. Keeping her promise, she remained faithful. Despite her efforts, she couldn't erase the image of that young woman with her husband, and vowed never to allow such betrayal. Again, he was hers, no doubt about it. Poor Tommy, boy. But engaging with a married woman can turn out to be a costly pastime. It's also painful if you choose the wrong husband. Luckily, John wasn't that type of man, but if he had taken action and slept with his wife, things would have taken a different turn. It's funny how those who are unwillingly betrayed never forget and eventually seek revenge. 2 years after divorcing his wife, Jennifer, who worked with Helen Douglas, the unwilling victim of betrayal, encountered Tommy in the pub's parking lot as he was about to get into his car an hour later. Another pubgo found Tommy unconscious on the pavement with 2 broken arms, a broken rib and punctured testicles. Only time would tell if Tommy boy ever learned his lesson.